You might be asking yourself, who's that fancy lady that just robbed the bank? It's me. And no, I didn't rob a bank, but I did make a fantastic facial mask via Joann's Craft Tutorials. I made this mask. I thought it was pretty awesome, pretty easy, but the only thing is that the bridge of the nose wasn't, or the area that goes over your nose, it wasn't sealing it really well. So I modified it using a really highly technical device, a child's pipe cleaner. Pretty fancy. So essentially, I just wanted to show you how I modified their online tutorial to incorporate the pipe cleaner into the bridge of the nose, thus giving you a more airtight seal and keeping you a little extra safe. So here are the things that you're going to need.
So you can use the Joann's online tutorial and just a couple extra steps that I'll show you how to do. I have 2 pieces of fabric here. They are 9 by 7. And Joann's tutorial tells you 9 by 6, but I added an extra inch because it comes a little farther down on your face, which I think is good. And it gives you a little extra leverage for when you incorporate the pipe cleaner. So you need 2 pieces of fabric that are 9 by 7, preferably 2 different colors or patterns or something, so you can identify the outside of the mask and the inside of the mask so you don't potentially contaminate yourself. You need another piece of fabric that's 3 by 7. And you need a piece of interfacing that is also 9 by 7. So you can use either interfacing. I actually really liked, I have this upholstery fabric. I thought that that was actually even better. So you need a 9 by 7 piece of either heavy duty flannel upholstery fabric or interfacing, a 3 by 7 piece of fabric, and 2 other 9 by 7 pieces of fabric. Elastic is really hard to come by, so shoelaces work pretty well, I found. 36 and 45 inches are great. Anything higher is fine too. You can always cut it down, but 36 at a minimum. And then you just need this trusty little pipe cleaner. It's just a 12-inch pipe cleaner, folded in half, twisted around itself, and where the 2 pokey ends were, I just folded them down and put a little piece of masking tape over that. So I'll show you how I incorporated the pipe cleaner into the fabric. Okay, so you're going to line up your 3 by 7 piece of fabric with your 7 by 9 piece of fabric. So you want to make sure that you're aligning this on the long edge, on the 9-inch ledge. So the 7-inch of your smaller piece should be on the 9-inch ledge of your longer piece. So what you're going to do is once you have those edges met up with one another, you're going to fold it in half like so, hot dog style, right? You're going to fold it in half. And then what you're going to do is once you have that folded in half, you're going to take your pipe cleaner and you're going to put it, you want to make sure it's centered in the middle here. And that looks pretty good. So you're going to have to sort of fuss with it a little bit. And then you're going to flip it over again. And you're going to fold it over one more time. Okay? And so once you do that, we're just now going to sew along that edge. So we just kind of put it in a little hot dog blanket here. And, oh gosh, I'm not a sewer. BTW, in case you were wondering. Not a sewer at all. Okay, but I'm doing the best that I can. So you're going to just sew that over like that. I'm just going to pin it in place. That'll help us. Alrighty, Rooney. So I'm just going to put a couple of pins in there because what's great about this is the most important thing is you want to make sure that you have, you want to get it as close to the edge as possible. You only want like a 1/4 inch seam allowance there. In here just to secure it. As we move along, I'll take those pins out. So then I'm going to put it on the machine and I'm just going to sew on that inner edge there. And make sure that you back stitch so that you get a nice secure stitch. And I want to make sure that I'm sewing as close to the pipe cleaner as possible. Just make sure you don't damage your needle if you get too close. So I'm sewing right along that pipe cleaner. Let me take my pin out. So it's nice and close to that pipe cleaner. So the pipe cleaner doesn't move around on you. Piece out. I'm going to go all the way to the edge, and then I'm going to back stitch before I sew the two ends of the pipe cleaner, I'm just going to make sure that the pipe cleaner didn't move, so it's gonna look something like this. But my pipe cleaner is a little bit more to the left, so I'm just gonna push it over to the center because I'm an idiot and I don't know how to, you know, do things properly because I don't sew. I'm just gonna use a pencil, and I'm just gonna push that down. Just gonna squinch it down. Okay, so once you kind of move that pipe cleaner to the middle, now we're just gonna sew on both ends to secure that in. So just make sure you don't run over your pipe cleaner because your needle won't be happy. So that's about good there. Needle's in the back. I'm gonna go forward, then I'm gonna back stitch to seal that in. Okay, good to go. I'm gonna do it on the other side as well. So that's the one side, and I'm going to stitch the other side. Okay, so now that we have the pipe cleaner secured in, we're going to put all of our fabric pieces together. So here's our final piece, and it has the fabric on here, the extra fabric that reinforced the pipe cleaner, and now we're going to put everything together. So you are going to take your heavier fabric and you're going to put it on the back side of your other piece of lighter fabric. And you'll notice what I did was I took shoelaces, and the shoelaces I pinned a 1/4 inch from the edge, right? So this is sort of on the, so what am I saying? Who am I? Where am I? And what's happening? Here we are. Let's rewind. So we put the shoe inches, 1/4 inch from the edges. I pinned them in. And so you'll notice this is the front side of my fabric. So I pinned down the shoelaces on the front side there. So essentially I'm just going to make sure all of my shoelaces are tucked into the middle so that when I sew them, I don't sew through my shoelaces. So we'll just put all the shoelaces in the middle. Again, we have the shoelaces are 1/4 inch from each edge, and they're just sticking out over the fabric a little bit. We're gonna take our pipe cleaner fabric and we're gonna put it so that the pipe cleaner flap is sticking up towards us, and we're just gonna put this down on top of this. Okay. And I trimmed this piece so it's a little bit shorter, but that's okay. So let me get that up here. Make sure that's all lined up nicely. I'm not a sewer. I don't know if I've mentioned that for the 500th time. So this is probably gonna look ugly, but you get the idea. Put a pipe cleaner in your face masks. That's basically the gist of this video. I'm not a sewer. I don't pretend to be. This is going to look ugly. You want to make sure that when you sew this, you don't sew over your shoelace, right? So if it's somewhat easier, you could almost take the shoelace off, just sort of unpin it and move it up a little bit so that when you're sewing, you don't sew over it. So we're going to start on that edge, and I'm just going to make sure that I don't sew over my shoelace. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. What am I doing? I don't know. All right, so I'm gonna start by sewing down the one end, and we're just basically gonna sew around the whole perimeter here. And we're gonna sew around the perimeter, and we're gonna leave one side open so we can turn it inside.
Ready, go.
Okay, so basically what I did, again, your shoelaces were on the inside between these two pieces. I sewed all the way around the perimeter of the squares, right? Making sure to backstitch over where your shoelaces are. The other important thing is you want to get as close as possible when you're sewing all three pieces together. You want to get as close as possible to the pipe cleaner on your seam there. So I left a little opening. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it inside out. And I didn't leave enough of a seam, but ideally, you know, if you just clip your corners a little bit, sometimes that's helpful. So your corners will look a little nicer. I am not a sewer, so mine is gonna obviously look ugly, but that's fine. It just has to be functional. Right, so we're just gonna turn this whole baby inside out in between your two different types of fabric. So we're just turning it inside out, and we're turning it inside out. Okay, there we go. All right, so, and again, this is just sort of following along what the Joann tutorial did. The only difference was I just added that pipe cleaner to the one seam. And so here's my pipe cleaner, it's up here. So let me just get everything shaped out. Here's my strings coming all out of, right? And I'm gonna sew over everything one more time just to make sure the strings are really securely fastened in there. Wow, this looks really ugly, but that's okay, right? So essentially you have your square, right? Here's your nice square with all of your things. Now all you have to do is you sew this closed. So I'll just put a pin in there, and I can then sew this little, just sort of fold it inward and then sew it shut. And then I just have to put the pleats on. So here's your mask, right? Here's your mask. Your pipe cleaner is up in the top here. It's nice and secure. This is where this will go, you know, this is where your nose is gonna go, right? So you have your nose here. So so just to sort of show you, the nice thing about this is now I can form that around my nose. So, yeah. So you can form it around your nose, and that will give you a better seal, you know? So when it's a lot better than the original design. I can kind of pinch it around my nose. Yay, pinching it around my nose. So the next thing you're gonna do is just follow the Joann tutorial. You're gonna put your pleats in, and you're just gonna sew around the whole edge. Sew it a couple times. You really wanna secure those laces in so that, you know, that's where most of your force is gonna be. So secure around the edges, put your pleats in, and you'll be good to go. Just make sure, you know, it's, now you have a nice mask that's gonna secure around your nose. Okay, good luck, stay healthy, and happy sewing.